a much smoother evening commute after an outage brought the entire BART system to a halt this morning.
People need to get to where they're going.
BART's future in the spotlight after today's meltdown shut down the system for hours.
A lot of stress.
Hit a cost of job.
The warning from transit advocates, this could become the norm. How the outage is putting the spotlight on BART's long-term financial issues.
If we don't fix it, we're going to see huge service cuts.
And one South Bay mayor already embracing AI in decision-making.
I love ChatGPT.
But one of their colleagues is raising the alarm.
We have no basis for saying the information is wrong or right.
And later, we'll introduce you to a grade school robotics team that lost their entire lab in the Palisades fire.
I was like, okay, let's just build a new robot.
How they rallied to cruise through the competition and earn a spot in the World Championships.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. Nearly 175,000 people ride BART on an average weekday, but for more than 4 hours this morning, that number was 0. A computer outage shut down the entire system, sending riders scrambling for another way to work and to go to work. And now all those riders who hopped in their cars have to get home now. So let's take a look. You can see from our camera looking at the approach to the Bay Bridge. It's slow going heading out of the city. That's usually typical, but let's go to a live look at our traffic map. So you can see the red on 101 leading up to the Bay Bridge and some slow traffic on city streets. Still, it is a good thing this happened on a Friday when hybrid workers typically stay home. So what actually went wrong? BART says it was a network connectivity issue with a backup system. It prevented staff in the operations control center from having full visibility of train positions. Staffers discovered the issue before service opened early this morning.
We knew we were not going to be able to start train service because it just wouldn't be safe if they can't know exactly where trains are going to be. While they went and investigated, the exact root cause, and it turned out to be, two devices just not having proper communication among themselves.
The shutdown meant many commuters had to find alternate ways to get where they needed to go. This morning, drivers on the Bay Bridge faced bumper-to-bumper traffic while other riders turned to Muni, Caltrain, or ferries. And for Colleen Trundy, it meant an additional 3 hours of travel time to get from the East Bay to San Francisco.
I took a bus from Vallejo to El Cerrito, got to El Cerrito BART station, found that the BART was down, had to go back to Vallejo to catch a ferry to get in here, and then, of course, catch the Muni into the Civic Center.
Ooh, all right, service was eventually restored around 9:15 in the morning. BART also emphasized this was not a cyber attack. So the shutdown is a reminder of what Bay Area traffic could look like without a strong public transit system. For years now, agencies have been warning about a 2026 fiscal cliff, which could lead to service cuts. So Dahlin is live at the Montgomery BART station in San Francisco, where BART's future is in the spotlight, essentially. Hi, Daw.
Hey, Juliette. Now, BART officials saying their one-time federal pandemic funds will run out next year, leaving them to face a massive budget deficit. Now, if deep cuts do happen, transit advocates warn what we saw today could become the norm, not the exception. A lot of running.
I saw the traffic. I saw everything go not red, but the dark red.
Scrambling.
Maybe take some buses, but I looked that up and it was 5 different buses and it would have taken 2 hours.
And last-minute adjustments.
The ferry was pretty busy for a Friday.
As people try to get to work and school.
BART is shut down everywhere, so I've Ubered to the ferry building. It was $50 for 6 miles. Now I'm taking the ferry to Alameda and then taking another Uber to Lake Merritt.
Angelica Ghislaine was running late for her company retreat in Oakland. What should have been a 30-minute BART ride turned into an expensive 90-minute headache.
This is why we need to fund public transportation, because this is what it leads to if we don't.
San Francisco leaders and transit advocates agree.
It affects everyone, and if you are a driver, even if you never take transit, BART failing affects you because it means tons of traffic congestion.
State Senator Scott Wiener is teaming up with Senator Jesse Adigan of Berkeley to secure $2 billion in state funding for public transit. They're also planning a 2026 ballot measure, a half-cent sales tax to support BART, Muni, and other Bay Area systems.
If we do nothing, we're going to see massive service cuts at BART, elimination of an entire line or two, closure of stations, scaling back or elimination of evening and weekend service.
Bay Bridge would become unnavigable. It would become completely congested and packed with cars. The commute into the city would take hours longer. And we just cannot accept that future as a region. It would be devastating economically.
BART faces a structural deficit of $350 to $400 million per year starting in 2027.
BART and Muni are critical to our revival here in San Francisco and obviously critical to the region. So we need a well-functioning BART, a well-functioning Muni, and we're going to need to go to the voters to discuss it next year.
A big decision looms. For now, Angelica just hopes she won't have to repeat this kind of commute anytime soon.
A lot of stress. You know, a company understands, but it's still been, it's been a morning.
Here's a live look again at the Montgomery BART station in downtown San Francisco. Things pretty much back to normal as a lot of folks are wrapping up their work week. It was a tough way to wrap it up, but Juliet, State Senator Scott Wiener hopes to put that tax measure on the November 2026 ballot.
Yeah, it looks so calm now. All right. Duh, thank you. Well, of course, in the short term, it was simply a chaotic morning for the tens of thousands of commuters just trying to get to work. Kevin Coe has spent the day in Walnut Creek hearing those stories. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Juliet, calm here too, but it was not the case this morning. This shutdown caused a lot of headaches for a lot of people during this morning commute, but it also really highlighted this idea that the Bay Area and its workforce, it really relies on BART. And that's exactly what a lot of workers told me. Today highlighted that fact for them, that they rely on BART to make a living.
Antonio is an accountant from Walnut Creek.
I wish it was a little bit more reliable overall. There tends to be a lot of delays.
Antonio was one of thousands of commuters who was left scrambling Friday morning when a system-wide shutdown halted all trains for hours.
I was on my way here because I actually live like 10 minutes from here, so I just walk. And then one of our employees was like, hey, it's like all shut down, what should we do? And so then I got to kind of turn around.
Once BART came back just before 9:30, Antonio took the first train he could.
I'm not sure. My initial thought was probably, some sort of medical emergency or some equipment malfunction.
Can I tell you what happened?
Yeah, go ahead.
BART says the network connectivity issue that impacted visibility of its trains was a major safety issue. But Antonio is conflicted.
Safety is a big priority, so I like they're looking at that. But you kind of got to balance it with, people's daily lives and stuff. People need to get to where they're going. Some people need to be at a certain place, and they rely on BART.
Many others couldn't wait for BART to come back online. They found alternative routes like buses, ferries, and ride shares.
I have no choice but to take the Uber. Waiting for Uber to get me to work approved by my manager because I have to be there, so I have to go.
As for Antonio, he is upset at the inconvenience from the shutdown, but admits he relies on BART to get around. So he'll be back.
It's all right. I think they've done better. I think they're doing okay. Not great. Wouldn't give them like an A or anything, but they're doing all right.
Back here live at the Walnut Creek BART station. Juliet, I just wanted to show you this sign. This is actually, it's a closed entrance for fare gate replacement. I spoke with a lot of riders today. They are happy that improvements to gates and security, they do see these things being made, but reliability and consistency, they say they need to see both of those things more if they want to rely on BART in the future. Bottom line, they just hope they never see anything like they saw this morning.
Yeah, bottom line. Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin. Well, BART has been making progress when it comes to keeping riders happy. The most recent customer survey last year actually found that nearly 3/4 of riders were at least very or somewhat satisfied with BART. That's up 6% over the past 2 years. CBS News Bay Area did a deep dive into the major challenges BART has faced since the pandemic and potential solutions as it looks to move forward. You can watch our full special, BART on the Brink. You'll find it inside today's top story on the BART outage on KPIX.com. San Jose police have arrested a group of teenagers for allegedly stealing and vandalizing a park sign with a handsaw. 2 18-year-olds and 2 minors were taken into custody. Police believe the vandalism and theft was gang motivated. The suspects were identified after officers found online video of the teenagers removing the sign and then shouting gang slurs. All right, let's get to our first alert weather. Here's a live look from our Mount Diablo cam. Let's take a look at that. Concord is a spot that saw some toasty temperatures. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan. Boy, it looks like, what, did we creep into the 90s in some spots?
We did, and Concord was one of those spots that managed to climb up into the 90s earlier today. A live look at San Jose, seeing plenty of sunshine there. Temperature in San Jose did make it well into the 80s. Official high temperature of 87 degrees, which is about what we expected. 90 degrees in Santa Rosa and 92 degrees. One of the hot spots in Concord. Of course, closer to the coastline, temperatures didn't warm up as much. 70 degrees in San Francisco is about half dozen degrees above normal, but just barely above 60 degrees at Half Moon Bay. As we head through the rest of the weekend, we're going to see a small cool down tomorrow, but still around 70 in the city, mid-70s for Oakland, mostly 80s inland. I don't think we're going to have nearly as many 90s. And then our temperatures really drop for Mother's Day, and it's going to be breezy. We'll get into all the details of that coming up in the full forecast in just a few minutes.
What is Mother's Day?
I know, right?
Oh, wow. Thank you. All right, still ahead here at 6. A South Bay city leader uses ChatGPT to make a decision on the fly. Why one council member told us he's worried about the precedent.
People need to realize that ChatGPT is not trying to answer your question. It's trying to give you a most likely response. And that's a very different thing.
Plus, bracing for long-term price spikes. Why some researchers say Californians could be paying north of $8 a gallon for gas by the end of next year. Artificial intelligence is becoming more prevalent in our lives. We've seen it expand to all kinds of industries and workplaces. And right now in Santa Clara, some members of the city council are embracing programs like ChatGPT. But our Lynn Ramirez reports it's sparking concerns about the use of AI to make important decisions.
Well, here in the city of Santa Clara, which is home to some of the companies advancing the technology of artificial intelligence, some members of the city council are starting to use AI to make important decisions affecting the public. And it may be a case where practice is getting ahead of policy.
100% should check every reference.
Kevin Park is a tech-savvy two-term member of the Santa Clara City Council. He previously spent 30 years as a scientist and engineer in Silicon Valley, which included working for 3 companies involved in artificial intelligence. And he worries about a recent trend with some of his council colleagues who are using generative AI apps like ChatGPT to help them decide issues.
People need to realize that ChatGPT is not trying to answer your question. It's trying to give you a most likely response. And that's a very different thing.
Who did you look at? How do I know that?
At a recent public meeting, the Santa Clara City Council was grappling with the question of whether to approve a vendor contract for non-NFL events at Levi Stadium. Mayor Lisa Gilmore wanted to compare deals with other vendors in other cities, but no one had the information quickly enough at hand. So she went to her laptop to find her answer.
Yeah, okay, I've just come up with a bunch of companies that do it throughout the United States. I love ChatGPT.
Minutes later, Mayor Gilmore joined 2 council members to vote down the contract. She did not respond to our request for comment, but it may be one of the first on-the-record instances where AI was used in city council decision-making, a threshold that concerns Irina Raiku of Santa Clara University's Markkula Center for Applied Ethics.
In the context of intersections like this between an improving but imperfect technology and insufficient AI literacy and just understanding of the limitations of the technology, that it really can become a public danger.
ChatGPT is one of the most popular generative AI apps in the world. It's known as a chatbot. If you tell it you have a new dog, it can generate a conversation leading to care and training tips and ideas for naming it. People often use it to answer hard questions, condense large amounts of information, and generate new creative content, including pictures and written documents. Raiku says there's much more to it than a Google search, and it's not infallible.
More and more people are aware of the hallucinations, the fact that generative AI really generates content. It doesn't just find it. And so it can, it often generates very accurate responses, but sometimes they are not accurate at all, or they don't fit the factual aspect of the question.
What it's trained on has a great deal of impact on what it finally gives you.
Councilmember Park cautions against city leaders using it as a replacement for other kinds of research.
If we're asking to summarize or tell us things that we know nothing about, we have no basis for saying the information's wrong or right. Oftentimes, people say, AI gave me the wrong answer, or it did something that was very strange.
Many local agencies are still developing AI policies. Santa Clara has established an AI working group to develop best practices and should finalize its own policy later this year. It may no longer be a question of whether to use AI, but rather how to use it responsibly.
So you're saying...
So if you thought gas was expensive before, a new study out of USC expects the price of gas in California may soon be going up. A lot of researchers estimate we could see prices north of $8 per gallon by the end of next year. The reason? In large part, refinery closures, specifically the Valero refinery in Benicia is set to close next April, and the Phillips 66 refinery in Los Angeles shutting down later this year. The author of the study says both of those together mean more pain at the pump.
And it really doesn't matter whether it's $8 or $7 or $7.50. The models all indicate the price of gas is going up.
The study says to compensate for those refinery losses, we may soon have to start importing gas from China, which could be even more expensive with tariffs. Meantime, we now know what likely caused that fire at the Valero refinery in Benicia earlier this week. The company's 72-hour incident report said a piece of furnace broke off and struck another piece of equipment, and that caused some materials to leak. The fire prompted a shelter-in-place order in the area Monday morning. Fortunately, no one was hurt. All right, coming up, we are feeling the heat now, but does the weather have any gifts in store for Mother's Day? Paul is back with the full forecast. Ooh, San Jose was one of the spots in the mid-80s today. We saw plenty of kids cooling off in the fountains at the Plaza de Cesar Chavez downtown. Look at that. And then some areas crept to the 90s. My duckling, my Oregon University student, said, Mom, I want to come home this weekend for Mother's Day. But I think she just wanted, she definitely wanted to, but she definitely was enjoying the weather today.
She's going to feel like she's back in Eugene by Sunday, because
I know.
It's going to be cool and breezy.
I did tell her that. I said, well, get your laying out done today, because it'll change.
And yes, be careful with the sun exposure as well.
That's true.
Okay.
Good advice.
Yeah, it's still warm tomorrow, though, so you kind of savor that. And then back to Oregon weather for Sunday, for Mother's Day. Let's take a look at the big picture pattern here, and we'll look at the statewide view. And I'm going to turn on the temperature contours, just the colors, to show you kind of where we topped out today. And you'll see where we're going with this in a second. A lot of these warmer colors on the map, the oranges and reds indicating those temperatures in the 80s and 90s. Let's go forward to Monday and look at the abrupt change that we are going to see as we head into the weekend. We're talking about temperatures dropping significantly from tomorrow to Sunday, and even more of a drop by Monday. So really eroding that warm air mass that settled in across the Bay Area today. Some spots you could even safely call it hot, but temperatures are going to start to back down as we head through the next several hours. A look at current conditions right now as we look outside from the Mark Hopkins Hotel. Blue skies, not even a hint of fog out there right now. 64 degrees in San Francisco, 72 across the Bay in Oakland. Inland temperatures still mostly in the 80s and still 90 degrees right now in Concord, just 2 degrees off where you topped out this afternoon. That relative lack of fog is going to persist as we head through the rest of tonight. Let's take a look at the local map, and we'll track that fog as we head through the overnight and early morning hours. And there's very little to see here. A little bit's going to try to form this evening, but largely we're not going to see the fog kind of reforming until the pre-sunrise hours of Saturday morning. And like this morning, it's mainly going to be confined to right along the coast. So no big intrusion of that fog into the inland valleys of the Bay Area, so no significant factors to slow down the warm up initially. What is going to knock a few degrees off our high temperatures for tomorrow is going to be a return of a slightly stronger onshore breeze, but we're still going to be a good 10 degrees above normal for most inland parts of the Bay Area. Now, at the coast, low to mid 60s. It's not bad. You'll see plenty of sunshine. Near 70 degrees in San Francisco, mid 70s for Oakland, with a mix of upper 70s and 80s for the North Bay, and mostly 80s east of the Oakland Hills. Some of the warmest spots, Fairfield, Antioch, Brentwood, around 90 degrees for high temperatures on Saturday, up into the low to mid 80s for most of the Santa Clara Valley. Morgan Hill got up to over 90 degrees today. We'll top out in the upper 80s tomorrow afternoon. You can knock a good 10 to 15 degrees off these inland high temperatures for Sunday's highs, and it's going to be breezy as well. Let's take a look at the forecast for our wind gusts as we look at the next several days, and just the next 2 days, actually. The wind's picking up to some extent tomorrow, and then we're going to feel a stronger and more persistent onshore breeze kicking in for the second half of the weekend on Sunday. It'll be a little breezy at the coast tomorrow. It'll be breezy across pretty much the entire Bay Area by Sunday afternoon. Part of the reason for the cool down, along with just a whole different air mass moving in, along with the storm system that'll bring us a chance of showers as we head into late Sunday night and Monday. These are going to be intermittent, scattered showers. It's not a guarantee of measurable rain for everybody, but it's the best chance we've seen in a while, and it should add up to a few hundredths of an inch of rain to maybe a little over a tenth of an inch if you really hit the jackpot. It's not a lot, but normal May rainfall is essentially nothing. So anything above that is remarkable for the middle of May. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast. At the coast, our temperatures do go up and down, but not a lot. Only 4 degrees separating the coolest days, Sunday and Monday, from the warmest day, tomorrow and next Thursday. Our temperatures Bayside, a little more fluctuation to the up and down pattern. Temperatures are going to top out in the mid 70s tomorrow. That'll be the warmest day we see for a while. And then we drop down to the low to mid 60s Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And the coolest day for everybody is associated with that shower chance on Monday. The additional cloud cover helping to knock a few more degrees off our high temperatures. So inland we go from 86 on an average basis tomorrow, only 66 by Monday, but then back up into the mid 70s by next Wednesday. The up and down pattern continuing, which is kind of normal for the month of May.
Keep that jacket.
Keep the jacket
handy.
And the flip-flops handy.
Which we already do in
Maybe
California.
on the same day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And coming up, Robotics team rise from the Palisades fire. Meet the elementary school robotics team that rose from the ashes to reach the World Championships. Plus, here's a look at what's ahead on the CBS Evening News.
Pope Leo XIV celebrated his first Mass today, where he promised to lift up ordinary people. The leader of the world's Catholics begins to reveal himself tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Look at that, no traffic today. A story of resilience out of the devastating Palisades fire in West Los Angeles. Marquez Elementary was one of 3 schools destroyed by flames in January. Its 4th grade robotics team had lost not only their school, but a robot named Hole-in-One. They spent months designing it, coding, and building before the fire. Well, despite the setback, the team never gave up. Donations poured in just days before the district robotics competition. And guess what? They rebuilt their bot just in time, thanks to the designs they had saved on the cloud.
Still had a chance at winning because we had all the steps to build the robot. I was like, okay, let's just build a new robot.
I love that. The team won the district competition in February, then wowed judges at the state and national competitions, and they'll be competing in the World Championships next week in Dallas. We'll be sure to cover that. Never give up. CBS Evening News is next. Local news continues on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. We're back right here in 30 minutes with more news just for you at 7 o'clock, and we'll see you then.